Welcome back, Screen Crush. I'm Ryan Airy, and this is everything you need to know before watching Jujutsu Kaisen Season 3. We're going to go through the anime and the movie in chronological order, so we're going to move like the culling game arc rules did. If you know, you know. In the world of JJK, negative emotions leak out of humans to create cursed energy. That cursed energy can coalesce into cursed spirits. Most humans can't see these spirits, but cursed spirits kill thousands of humans every year. The small percentage of humans who can see cursed spirits train to become Jujutsu sorcerers. These sorcerers can harness their own cursed energy to strengthen themselves, and each sorcerer is usually born with a unique technique that gives them powers. Satoru Gojo was born as the most overpowered sorcerer of the modern era. He is born with the Limitless technique, which allows its users to play with the concept of infinity. This allows Gojo to distort space to his will. He's also born with the Six Eyes trait that gives him inhuman perception and the ability to read people's cursed techniques. Gojo is essentially the chosen one of this universe. He attends Jujutsu High with his best friend Suguru Geto, a sorcerer coming from human parents who was born with a strong technique, cursed spirit manipulation. Geto can eat cursed spirits he's defeated and use them like Pokemon.
I wanna be the very best.
Now, despite being high schoolers, the duo are classified as special grade sorcerers, which is a lofty title. Because of their powers, Gojo is a brash and pompous sorcerer who looks for challenges, while Geto believes that they exist to protect weak humans who can't defend themselves. They're assigned a special mission to protect a girl named Riko Amanai. Despite not being a sorcerer, Riko is the star plasma vessel.
Did you say right now?
So, one of the Jujutsu elders, Tengen, manages the barriers that protect the Jujutsu schools. Tengen is also immortal, but her body still ages. She requires a sacrifice every 500 years in order to keep her body from evolving into something that's non-human. Riko's body is this generation's fit for Tengen. Tengen is worshipped by a group of cultists called the Star Religious Group. They hire the infamous sorcerer killer, Toji Fushiguro, to kill Riko before she can merge with Tengen. Now, Toji is a menace in Jujutsu society. He came from the prestigious Zenin clan, but they ridiculed him because he was born with zero cursed energy in his body. This is because of a heavenly restriction placed on Toji's body. He has no cursed energy, but his physical prowess and senses are unmatched. Toji is a smart combatant. He knows the depth of Gojo's power, so he places a bounty on Riko, 30 million yen to any sorcerer who can kill her in the next 2 days. Hearing about the bounty, Gojo stays awake for 2 whole days, keeping his technique running at all times. After an exhausting 2 days of avoiding bounty hunters, Gojo drops his technique outside of Jujutsu High, where Toji springs his ambush. Geto takes Riko to the school for safety. Gojo is exhausted and has a hard time against Toji, whose lack of cursed energy makes him harder to detect compared to other enemies. Despite Gojo being the strongest, Toji kills him and runs after Riko. As Riko's second guess is being a sacrifice, her choice is taken away as Toji shoots her in the head. Geto tries to avenge his friends, but Toji is just too powerful. As Toji collects his reward money, he's confronted by Gojo. It turns out, as he was dying, Gojo poured his energy into learning reverse curse techniques. Since cursed energy is derived from negative emotions, multiplying the power against itself creates positive energy that can heal. Reverse curse techniques are rare and hard to pull off, so the near-death experience really leveled up Gojo's already busted powers. This is where he learns his most destructive move, Hollow Purple, which kills Toji.
Kyoshiki, Murasaki.
His last words tell Gojo about his son, Megumi Fushiguro. Megumi was raised outside of the world of Jujutsu, but Toji was going to sell him off to the Zenin clan. He tells Gojo this information as a way to rectify his mistake and to let Megumi live a life away from the Zenin clan's harsh environment. Gojo returns to Jujutsu society in a whole league of his own. Because of his immense power, Geto falls behind and begins to question their place in the world. He questions why his comrades have to pay the price for saving the clueless humans. At his lowest, he talks with the other special grade sorcerer, Yuki Tsukumo. Now, she doesn't fight cursed spirits like the other sorcerers. Instead, she looks for a solution to get rid of all cursed spirits. She and Geto discuss the possible outcomes, which are either every human needs to learn how to control their cursed energy or eliminate all cursed energy from mankind. However, Geto sees a third option: eliminate all non-human sorcerer humans from mankind. He decides his genocidal idea is the best course of action for his sorcerer friends. Geto readies himself to create a world with no humans left. When Gojo confronts his friend about his decision, Geto delivers his ideology like a knife to Gojo's throat. Geto clarifies that Gojo could achieve this mission in a heartbeat. His power is so immense that if they swap positions, his idiotic goal would become a reality. And this reasoning is why Geto knows what must be done.
君は五条悟だから最強なのか。 最強だから五条悟なのか。
So the two best friends go their separate ways. Gojo adopts Megami and his stepsister in an attempt to raise them to be strong, and Geto begins to amass his army. Over the next 10 years, Gojo becomes a teacher for Jujutsu High, and Geto watches over a cult of followers. Despite his status as a teacher, Gojo often butts heads against the Jujutsu elders. They attain order among the Jujutsu world for the sake of keeping things how they are, while many of the newer generations of sorcerers, like Gojo, seek to do things differently. Even though they hate each other's methods, Gojo is still called upon because he's the strongest. The elders ask him to watch over a problematic young sorcerer named Yuta Okotsu. Yuta is being cursed by the strongest cursed spirit to ever exist, Rika. We learned that Yuta and Rika were close childhood friends until Rika died in a car accident. Her death cursed her soul and it attached itself to Yuta, but no one in the Jujutsu community knows why a normal human distorted herself into being one of the most dangerous spirits in all of history. So Gojo and Yuta attend Jujutsu High where he can keep an eye on him. There, Yuta meets the other first-year students, Maki Zenin, Toge Inumaki, and Panda. Just like Toji, Maki left the Zenin clan. She also has a heavenly restriction placed on her because of her twin sister, but I'll get into that later. Now, despite being a strong fighter, Maki can't see curses without her glasses. Even though she's behind, she fights to prove herself to the Zenin clan. Inumaki uses curse speech, which is a strong technique that can attack things with words. However, the technique doesn't have an off switch, so Inumaki can only communicate in simple words that have no power, or else he'd attack his friends by accident.
Kelp.
Now, Panda is a cursed corpse who is essentially an object that's given life through cursed energy. Over the course of the school year, Yuta bonds with his classmates and learns to hone his own cursed energy. He begins using Rika's curse to his advantage and borrows her cursed energy, imbuing it into his katana. Yuta's mission draws the attention of Geto, who is a completely different person now. His disdain for humans runs so deep that he can hardly stand the smell of them.
I don't want everyone to breathe in the monkey smell.
Geto tries to recruit Yuta toward his cause, but Yuta won't betray his friends, so Geto declares war on Jujutsu Society. He announces his night parade of 100 demons where he'll let more than 2,000 cursed spirits wreak havoc across Shinjuku and Kyoto on Christmas Eve.
2,000, but the title says 100.
Well, the title is actually a reference to Japanese folklore, but that one also has thousands of creatures march through the streets of Japan, so I guess they round it all the way down. The cities are evacuated and every available sorcerer defends them except Yuta. The sorcerers deem Rika too great of a threat. However, the night parade is just a distraction. Geto's true goal is to kill Yuta and steal Rika for himself. With a cursed spirit like Rika on his side, he could, in theory, kill mankind with little to no resistance. Geto attacks Jujutsu High while Yuta and Maki are there. Gojo realizes his plan and sends Inumaki and Panda back to the school. The three first-year students try to defend Yuta but almost die in the process. After he rescues them, Yuta and Geto engage in their one-on-one. Using what he learned from his friends, Yuta gravely injures Geto. Once Gojo finishes dealing with the night parade, he finds his friend crawling away from the school. Gojo and Geto share one last heart-to-heart before Gojo kills him. Afterwards, Gojo shares what he learned about Yuta's past. Yuta is actually a descendant of a great apparition, a legendary Jujutsu sorcerer. This also means that Yuta is distantly related to Gojo. Now knowing the truth about his lineage, they realize that Rika didn't curse Yuta, but Yuta accidentally cursed Rika. He sets her free and the first-year students finish off the school year. About a year later, we meet Yuji Itadori. He's an athletic kid who's part of the school's occult club. We're also reintroduced to Megami Fushiguro. He's a new first-year Jujutsu sorcerer investigating a cursed relic at Yuji's school. Megami's cursed technique is summoning Shikigami, which are animal familiars made of cursed energy.
Hi, my name is Magurmer, and these are my Shikigami.
Each animal comes with different uses. Unfortunately for Megami, Yuji found the relic earlier and gave it to his club mates. After school, Yuji takes care of his grandfather, but as he dies of old age, he tells Yuji to live in service to others. You see, Yuji's so strong that he should make sure that the people in his life get to live long lives. He also tries to tell Yuji about his birth parents, but Yuji doesn't want to hear it, but he takes his grandfather's words to heart. Megami meets him at the hospital and tells him about the relic, so they rush back to Yuji's school. After rescuing the occult club members, a giant cursed spirit attacks them. We learn that the relic is a severed finger brimming with cursed energy. It attracts spirits who want to swallow the finger to boost their strength. In a last-ditch effort to save everyone, Yuji swallows the finger and swells with cursed energy, but his body is possessed by the king of curses, Ryumen Sukuna. However, even though Yuji knows nothing of the Jujutsu world, his body is able to keep the king of curses in check. Gojo arrives to check on Megami's progress, and Yuji's resistance intrigues him. They take Yuji back to Jujutsu High, where the the elders vote to execute him. They don't want Sukuna to resurrect himself through Yuji's body. Gojo buys Yuji time by suspending the execution on the condition that Yuji will gather all of Sukuna's 20 fingers so they can execute him and Sukuna in one go.
20 fingers? I thought people only had 12.
Well, actually, Sukuna had 4 arms, so they gotta pass on that one. Yuji officially joins Jujutsu High. He and Megumi meet the last first-year student, Nobara Kugisaki. Nobara has a strong curse technique that lets her attack the soul of things. Now, the trio's first mission is at an abandoned prison. This is where they teach the first years about the power scaling of cursed spirits. Grade 4 are the weakest, and they get progressively stronger as the grade rises. Special grade cursed spirits are extremely dangerous and require special grade sorcerers to fight. The first years encounter a cursed womb in the prison. The mission would have been easy, but the womb has one of Sukuna's fingers.
There's pesky fingers.
So Nobara is sent away and Megumi chases after her to make sure that she's okay. Yuji fights the cursed womb himself, but it easily overwhelms him, so he relinquishes control of his body to Sukuna. Sukuna uses this opportunity to show Yuji what real power looks like.
領域展開福間水す
Now, since Yuji is feeling dejected, he's not able to take control back of his body. So, the King of Curses uses this time in Yuji's body to attack Megumi. However, Megumi is able to hold his own, which surprises Sukuna. Megumi is about to play his trump card, but he first tells Yuji why he decided to save him back at his high school. He praises Yuji for saving strangers and doesn't want to see a good man die. His heartfelt words give Yuji the strength to regain his body, but Sukuna ripped out his heart earlier, so Yuji dies as soon as he comes back. Back at Jujutsu High, Megumi and Nobara reflect on their new jobs as sorcerers. See, they feel real guilt for Yuji's death, and I'm just kidding. They start training for the school exchange event. Even though they're sad, they meet up with the second-year students to train. The second-year students are Toge, Maki, and Panda, who we met during the prequel movie. They know that Yuji's death is a sign that they need to train harder. However, Yuji isn't actually dead. He did die, but Sukuna forged a heavenly pact with Yuji. Now, these are agreements in the sorcery world that must be followed. Sukuna agrees to revive Yuji, but Sukuna can take over Yuji's body for 1 minute in the future. Sukuna won't kill or harm anyone during that minute, but Yuji must forget the pact. Yuji reluctantly agrees and comes back to life. Gojo decides to keep Yuji's second chance at life a secret. If the Elder Council finds out, they would once again try to execute him. Meanwhile, another character is mysteriously back from the dead, Suguru Geto. He enlists the help of Jogo, the cursed spirit representing humanity's fear of the earth. Geto's plan involves an object called the Prison Realm, which they will use to seal Gojo away. Now, Jogo thinks that the prison realm is pointless and decides to fight Gojo himself. When they fight, Gojo easily takes down the cursed spirit by demonstrating his domain expansion. Now, domains are unique barriers that sorcerers can create where their big attack is usually a guaranteed hit. It takes a lot of raw strength to break through a barrier before the attack hits. Gojo's domain, Infinity, overloads the target with every sensation in the universe, limitless information that overloads the brain. Yuji and Gojo try to interrogate Jogo, but one of Geto's other teammates rescues the cursed spirit. Gojo assigns Yuji and his old friend Kento Nanami to investigate a murder at a nearby theater. The 3 victims were transformed into ghouls. Those victims were also bullies that picked on Yoshino Junpei. He witnesses the murder and then runs into the cursed spirit of humanity, Mahito, who's also working with Geto. Nanami and Yuji suspect Junpei had something to do with the crime scene, so Yuji befriends him so they can get information out of him. Despite only befriending him as part of the job, Yuji treats Junpei with respect and tells it to him straight. They quickly become friends, and Yuji even hangs out at his house. Meanwhile, Nanami hunts down Mahito and learns about his cursed spirit technique, idol transfiguration, which allows the curse to reshape people's souls and control them. Mahito places a Sukuna finger in Junpei's house, which causes a cursed spirit to kill Junpei's mom. This sends him down a dark path, and he attacks his school with a new Shikigami. Yuji arrives to stop Junpei, and he convinces him to come to Jujutsu High, but Mahito interrupts them and kills Junpei just to spite Yuji. Seeing the death of his friend, Yuji declares that he'll kill Mahito.
The next words that spilled from my lips made everything I've ever said feel like a lie. I will kill you.
During their fight, they become true rivals. Yuji is actually the best counter to Mahito. Because Yuji is a vessel for Sukuna, he's more aware of his soul than a normal sorcerer, meaning that his attacks deal harsher damage to Mahito. Also, Mahito can't use idol transfiguration on Yuji since it would affect Sukuna, and he doesn't want to draw the attention of the King of Curses. Nanami arrives to help, and the 2 sorcerers push Mahito to the brink of death. The experience awakens Mahito's domain expansion. Nanami is literally in the palm of Mahito Mahito's hand, but Yuji is able to brute strength his way into the barrier. Since Mahito's technique requires touch, Yuji being inside the domain means that Mahito inadvertently touches Sukuna's soul, which is a big no-no. Mahito knows he's beat, so he runs away to recover. With the mission over, Yuji returns to Jujutsu High with little fanfare. While Yuji was away, the students were getting ready for the Kyoto exchange event. That's where two jujutsu schools from Kyoto and Tokyo battle each other in a training exercise. Earlier, the Tokyo students ran into Kyoto's heavy hitters, Todo Aoi and Mai Zenin. Now, Mai is Maki's twin sister. Because they're twins, their heavenly restriction sees their souls split into two beings, which is why Maki can't see cursed spirits and Mai has low cursed energy. Now, while Maki decides to show the Zenin clan how powerful she can be, Mai disguises her shame in a selfish and pompous attitude. Now, Todo Aoi is an eccentric grade 1 sorcerer. He is well known for his physical prowess, but he also took down a special grade cursed spirit during the night parade of 100 demons. Todo has a very unique way of getting to know people.
Fushiguro, was it? What kind of woman's your type?
Now, during the exchange event, the Kyoto students are tasked with another quest, to kill the newly revived Yuji Itadori. The Jujutsu higher-ups still want Sukuna's vessel out of the picture. They launch an ambush on Yuji, but Todo takes an interest in him. So Todo tells his classmates to back off so he can 1v1 Yuji. Todo gets to know Yuji and instantly declares him as his new best friend.
どうやら俺たちは親友のようだな。
今名前聞いたのに?
He scolds his new best friend on his use of cursed energy. Todo teaches Yuji the fundamentals of channeling so Yuji can become stronger. As the Tokyo students defend Yuji from the Kyoto students, Jujutsu High is attacked by Hanami. This is the cursed spirit of nature who rescued Jogo earlier. Megumi, Toge, and Maki try to fight Hanami, but they are no match for the cursed spirit. Todo and Yuji tag in, but Todo challenges his new best friend. He claims that he won't help Yuji fight Hanami until Yuji can land a Black Flash. Now, Black Flashes are essentially the critical hits of this universe. When a sorcerer lands one, it puts them in the zone, increasing their cursed energy exponentially. Yuji's intense concentration lets him land one within minutes, which is unheard of for a newbie sorcerer. Todo joins in the fight, and the two of them launch a full assault on the special grade spirit. Using Todo's simple yet effective technique, they combo the living hell out of Hanami. And thanks to Todo's guidance, Yuji is able to land 4 Black Flashes in a row, tying the world record.
Thank you so much, best friend!
Eventually, Gojo arrives at the battle and Hanami knows that it can't fight him, so the enemies begin to retreat. It turns out, as the school fought off the curses, Mahito broke into their storage and stole 6 of Sukuna's fingers and the first 3 womb death paintings, so the villains are stockpiling for a huge attack. Now, with the chaos subsiding, the students decide to play baseball in place of the exchange event, while the teachers and elders discuss the possibility of a mole in their ranks. Next, our first-year students are assigned a new mission. They investigate the mysterious disappearance of a few students from Megumi's old middle school. Those students reappeared near a bridge with no memory of what happened to them. They suspect a cursed spirit is luring people to the bridge and then cursing them. Here, Megumi learns that his stepsister was also at the bridge that night, which could be why she's currently in a coma. So the mission now is personal for him. He tries to get Nobara and Yuji away from the mission so he can carry the burden alone, but they still show up for their friend. Now, while they're investigating, Mahito awakens the cursed womb death paintings whose names I am about to butcher: Eso, Kichizu, and Choso. These are special cursed spirits with a human mother, so they share a brotherly bond that's stronger than most curses. Mahito sends Eso and Kichizu to find a nearby Sukuna finger, which happens to be at the same bridge our trio is at. So they fight over the finger. Nobara and Yuji take on Eso and Kichizu, while Megumi fights the bridge spirit. They're barely successful, but manage to exorcise all of their opponents and recover another Sukuna finger. Now, because of their constant run-ins with high-class cursed spirits, Todo and another Jujutsu sorcerer named Meimei recommend Yuji, Nobara, Megumi, Panda, and Maki to become first-grade sorcerers. This title is a sign of just how powerful they've become and how much the Jujutsu Society will rely on them in the future. We learn that one of the Kyoto students, Mekamaru, is the mole. Now, Mekamaru has a heavenly restriction, which can basically be summarized with this.
Every morning I break my legs. And every afternoon I break my arms.
So he was feeding information to Geto in exchange for Mahito to heal his body. They follow the terms of their pact, but Mechamaru launches an attack on the villains. He unveils a giant mech suit powered by his cursed energy. Mechamaru is close, but Mahito kills him. He does create a communicator to warn the others, but we'll get into that later. On Halloween night, Geto puts his plan into motion. He holds the city of Shibuya hostage with a singular demand: for Gojo to confront the villains. So while Gojo heads into the city, the rest of the Jujutsu sorcerers stand outside as a backup, except for Mei Mei and Yuji, who infiltrate the subway to rescue civilians and find the villain who set up the barrier around the city. Gojo takes on 3 curses at once: Jogo, Hanami, and the newly awakened Choso, who has blood manipulation powers. The villains use the trapped citizens to their advantage, so while Gojo has to dodge and fight the curses, he has to be careful not to harm the humans in the crossfire. Gojo kills Hanami, so the villains unleash a train car filled with mindless transfigured humans. So Gojo decides to use his domain expansion to avoid casualties. However, since his domain is an infinite amount of information pouring into every being around him, he calculates that he can't keep the domain open for too long, or else he would kill a lot of the humans himself. So he slaughters all of the 1,000 transfigured humans in his domain in under 0.2 of a second. With Gojo at his limit, Geto finally makes his big move and uses the prison gate to trap Gojo. Seeing his long-dead best friend makes Gojo hesitate long enough for the gate to open and trap him inside. However, before Gojo is sealed, Geto reveals the truth. Suguru Geto really is dead, but his body is being puppeted around by this strange brain spirit who will be named in Season 3. Once Gojo is sealed, Mechamaru's communicator activates and warns Yuji about what's happened so he can spread the word. With the biggest hurdle out of the way, the cursed spirits argue over what to do next. Choso and Mahito want to kill Yuji out of revenge or just for fun, but killing Yuji also means killing Sukuna, which Jogo is against. They all want to create a world where curses rule over humans, but some believe that Sukuna is the key to that plan and others don't agree. Yuji, Megumi, and one of Nanami's students, Ino, fight against the bounty hunters. One of them uses a seance to possess dead bodies. Coincidentally, the corpse they use for this ritual is Toji Fushiguro, Megumi's dad, who Gojo killed a decade ago. Through sheer unbridled willpower, Toji reclaims control of his body. Being back from the dead, he decides to wreak havoc in the city, playing neither side in the war. Ino is injured by Toji, so Megumi takes him outside the Veil to a hospital. This is where Yuji comes face to face with Choso. Choso wants revenge on Yuji for killing Eso and Keichizu. They have an intense back and forth battle. Choso is about to kill Yuji until he feels a disturbance. Being a death painting, he can sense when his brothers are in pain, and before he decides to strike Yuji down, he gets that same premonition. So he stops himself, believing he might accidentally kill his brother. He leaves the scene in confusion. Nanami saves Nobara and one of the assistants. He interrogates one of the bounty hunters for information about the Shibuya incident, which is getting really bad. Nanami joins up with Maki and they fight Dagon, the cursed spirit representing humanity's fear of water. Dagon pulls them into its domain expansion. They would have died if it wasn't for Megumi swooping in and countering with his incomplete domain. However, Megumi's help is not enough to save everybody. He tries to get them out of the domain, but instead of them leaving, Toji enters the domain. Now, with the seance technique long gone, Toji's body is acting on pure instinct, attacking the strongest entity around with precision strikes. Toji easily kills Dagon and then takes Megumi away for a one-on-one battle, not yet realizing that Megumi is his son. Jogo avenges Dagon by roasting Nanami and Maki alive. He then finds Yuji's unconscious body and decides to proceed with the plan to awaken Sukuna. He feeds the rest of Sukuna's fingers to Yuji and the King of Curses fully awakens. Sukuna promises to help Jogo if he can but land a single hit on him in a fight. Meanwhile, Toji comes back to his senses and asks for Megumi's name, to which his son replies Fushiguro and not Zenin.
お前、名前は伏黒。全員じゃねえのか。
So Toji takes himself out of the fight. He's glad that his son grew up with his name and not the Zenin clans. Jogo and Sukuna's fight levels Shibuya. We get to see their destructive powers on full display. Buildings are melting, bodies are being flung across miles of the sky. It is crazy. Jogo isn't able to land a single hit on Sukuna before he dies. As Megumi tries to leave the barrier, one of the bounty hunters catches up to him. Believing he was about to die, Megumi pulls out his trump card, Maharaga, an insanely powerful Shikigami that is virtually untamable and is all about destruction.
And this is 8-handled sword, Divergent Sila, Divine General Maharaga.
Maharaga easily kills the bounty hunter and Megumi, but draws the attention of Sukuna. Sukuna wants Megumi alive, so he heals Megumi and then does battle with Maharaga. They leave behind a crater where the city used to be. Feeling like his time is up, Sukuna stands in front of all the damage and lets Yuji have his body back. Yuji breaks down, knowing this destruction and all these innocent lives are his fault.
Die! Right now!
He treks on, trying to save anyone, but runs into Nanami's last moments alive. He fought until the end with his charred body, but he was caught off guard by Mahito. As Yuji and Mahito fight, we learn that Mahito currently has a clone of himself nearby. That clone runs into Nobara, so Mahito hatches a scheme. He taunts Nobara into following the clone and brings her to the fight with Yuji. With Nobara caught off guard, the real Mahito is able to scratch her face and scar her. Yuji, believing that he just lost his mentor and one of his best friends, completely gives up. He stands in shock as Mahito prepares to kill him, but Yuji is saved by Todo. Todo inspires Yuji to carry on for the sake of Nanami and Nobara. The duo have an explosive fight with Mahito. Todo reaches supersonic speed but loses one of his arms. Mahito levels up and transfigures himself into a monstrous new form, and Yuji gets a bad cut on his mouth. Through the power of Takeda-chan, Yuji and Todo defeat Mahito. However, right before Yuji can deliver the killing blow, Geto appears and steals the glory. He kills Mahito and absorbs his curse technique. At this moment, all the remaining fighters converge on Geto. Choso appears and puts all the pieces together. One of the sorcerers who manipulated the cursed womb death paintings 150 years ago was an infamous sorcerer named Noritoshi Kamo. He also had stitches across his head like Geto does now. So whatever cursed spirit that's inhabiting Geto's body has to be decades old. Choso fights alongside Yuji like a good older brother should. Geto receives help from a mysterious cursed spirit who is loyal to Sukuna. She uses her ice powers to subdue all the good guys, but they're rescued by Yuki Tsukumo. She was the one who set the real Geto on this destructive path 12 years ago. She also taught Todo how to become best friends with people.
どんな女がタイプだい?
Geto unveils his final Master Stroke plan. He uses idle transfiguration on the ground, tapping into all of the humans in Japan. Now there are two different effects here. First, the humans who have come into contact with cursed energy but fell into comas, like Megami's stepsister, are all given strength to become vessels like Yuji. Second, the non-awakened humans with cursed energy potential like Junpei are all given their cursed techniques. Geto then explains that soon he will use his powers to hold a culling game. This is where every vessel and sorcerer will battle each other in arena-like barriers to cull the herd and create a chaotic society of only the strong. He escapes and the sorcerers try to stop him, but they've suffered too many casualties. With Gojo sealed, the Jujutsu elders call upon Yuta Okotsu to return to Japan. He was training worldwide, but since his classmates were injured during the fighting, he obliged the elders' request to carry out the execution of Yuji. And guys, that is everything you need to know before JJK Season 3, the Culling Game arc. Are you excited for the games? Do you think that Yuta will actually kill Yuji? Be sure to let us know in the comments below, and huge shout out to Ethan Inc. who wrote this video. You can find our socials linked below, or you can find him on our free to join Discord server. And if it's your first time here, hope you subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy.